Well, hello everybody to our webinar of digital radiography, ADR, and AI in aerospace applications. Today I have two guests with me here, Daniel Grolmisch, the team leader of our AI team at VisiConsult, and Patrick Deutsch from PFW, Hutchinson PFW, both in Germany. But we're going to do this webinar for all of you internationally in English today. I'm very happy for all of you to be here, and it is 3 o'clock in Germany. And as Germans, we start on time. So thanks for joining on time to everybody. Everybody who's coming late, we're going to record this webinar and you can catch up later. So before I hand over to our speakers, because they are the ones that will give you all the content, I'm going to do a very quick introduction. So just very briefly about VisiConsult. So we are a family-owned business headquartered in northern Germany in the beautiful city of Lübeck. And we have distributors around the world. We are roughly 300 employees globally, over 60 channel partners with subsidiaries in the Americas, in Asia, in India, in China, and in many other countries. We'll talk predominantly about AI today, but we of course have a broad palette of solutions from stationary cabinets, portable systems, customized solutions, automated inspection systems, services, and the whole software suite. So you can say, as a rule of thumb, everything around X-ray and NDT is what we provide to you. So before I jump into the topic of AI, let me quickly explain some tools that will be available for you during this webinar. So if you look into your Teams channel, you have the possibility to ask questions, either through the Q&A section, which is this little question mark button that you have in your chat, or the chat interface. So I'll be monitoring these questions coming in, and I will forward them to our hosts at the end of the webinar. So let's get into AI. Why AI or why ADR in aerospace? There is three distinct drivers. When we speak to our customers, we hear always the same things. There is a lack of labor and a lack of skilled labor within NDT. Too little entrance into the field, a demographic shift, so an overaging society. The work itself is in many cases not attractive, shift work, sitting a lot in dark areas and looking at screens. And then we also see that a big portion of NDT professionals is approaching retirement age at some point in time. And at the same time, we are seeing increasing inspection volumes, either driven through more complex manufacturing technologies like additive manufacturing, or through rate increases like in the aerospace sector, or through standards getting stricter and stricter, requiring more inspection as well. And then additionally, we have a higher cost pressure. So we need to save costs. We are in a global recession in some countries. So we have to do more with less people and less cost. That's the requirement. And this is where AI comes in. But these are all very negative, and there's more potential to it, like increasing quality. Like, how can AI help us to actually inspect better? Not only cheaper or faster, but really to be better at what we do. And with that, I want to make sure we all understand. I mean, AI in many cases, or ADR, it sounds so disruptive. It's such a big thing. It's going to change everything. Well, it is an iterative process. So if you look from the left, I mean, at one point, we only had our eyes to look at a weld, for example. And then the X-ray film came along, and we could suddenly look inside, and we could see internal defects. And then digital radiography came along, and we were able to do that digitally and faster and even higher resolution. And AI is the only logical next iterative step from a manual process to a more automated one. So that is all I want to say during the introduction, and the speakers will introduce themselves very briefly, and they're gonna go through this in much more detail. Before I hand over, I want to announce already the next webinar. So if you guys are interested in X-ray and computer tomography, then please join this series on the 16th of December, where I will have Jochen Butzer from Robert Bosch GmbH in Germany, and my colleague Benjamin from Diondo to speak about innovative CT systems, and especially Jochen sharing about his 10 years of experience with CT systems at Bosch. It's going to be a really nice webinar. We'll send out the registration forms, but you can already put in the date into your calendar. And with that, with no further ado, Patrick, feel free to already put your presentation on the screen. And I want to say a couple of words. Patrick is a materials and process engineer at PFW. We are working with PFW since a very long time. Patrick will lead you through what we have done together. He's a great guy, very knowledgeable in what they did at PFW. And Patrick, with that, I want to hand over to you, to your presentation. Give the audience an idea of what your organization did in implementing ADR in practice.
Yeah, thank you for the introduction, Leonard. So, good afternoon, everyone. A warm welcome from my side as well. My name is Patrick Deutsch, and as Leonard said, I'm a materials and process engineer at Hutchinson PFW Aerospace. As a welding engineer, I mainly deal with welding problems, the optimization of the welding process, but also with the qualification of welders, and more also with the non-destructive testing of welded components, especially the X-ray inspection and penetrant testing. Yeah, before we dive into the main topic, I will give you an overview of today's presentation. First, I will start with a brief introduction of our company. After that, I will give you an overview of how X-ray inspection is currently done at PFW. And finally, we will focus on the core of this presentation, an automatic defect recognition in digital X-ray inspection of weld seams on the basis of artificial intelligence AI. So PFW is a leading supplier in the aerospace industry with over 100 years of experience, founded in 1913. And today PFW operates across 3 locations in Germany, Turkey, and in the UK, and has about 2,200 employees. Our facilities cover a total production area of 60,000 square meters, enabling us to manufacture and deliver a wide range of components for the aerospace industry. And our product portfolio includes over 10,000 different part numbers, ranging from tubes and ducts to structural components. And we have over 300 qualified in-house processes to meet the strict requirements of the aerospace industry. And we have about 60 different customers, whereby our main customers are Airbus and Boeing. PFW has 4 main product areas: tubes and ducts, aerostructures, design engineering, and forming and machining. In forming and machining, we use advanced technologies like a fully automated machining center, or metal forming processes like deep drawing, flex forming, and water jet cutting. Our design engineering team offers complete build-to-specification capabilities, from the concept and design to analysis, verification, validation, as well as the qualification and testing of new products or systems. The area aerostructures covers complex structural components for both the commercial and also the military aircraft. We produce belly fairings, light panels, cargo floor structures. Yeah. And finally, the tubes and ducts, which represent the biggest core competency of PFW. The tubes and ducts are critical for the safe and efficient operation of aircraft systems. And they are used in different systems, like in fuel systems, hydraulic systems, environmental control systems, and also water and waste systems. Our portfolio includes thousands of part numbers, for example, more than 4,700 for the fuel system. And all these components ensure the reliable transport of fluids and gases throughout the aircraft. And they must meet the highest standards for quality, precision, durability, and also weight optimization. And tubes and ducts consist of several individual segments connected to each other. And to join these segments, the tube and duct ends are currently either directly welded using TIG welding or equipped with flanges, coupling elements, which are also fixed to the tube end by means of resistance welding. And due to the high requirements in the aerospace industry, quality assurance is very important. And to ensure the quality of welded components, they are regularly subjected to an X-ray inspection, in addition to visual and penetrant testing. So this is why X-ray inspection is performed. And until 2013, PFW only used X-ray systems based on film technique for the X-ray inspection of welded components. And the feeding and discharge of the components, as well as their manipulation in the beam path are carried out manually. The components are positioned between the radiation source and the film by a qualified X-ray inspector. And during this process, the X-ray system is blocked for active inspection operations. And depending on the required number of exposures, this manual positioning is done up to 6 times for a single inspection position or weld seam. So these manual positioning operations are time and cost intensive. Therefore, the first digital X-ray systems were purchased in 2013 and 2014. Here, the component manipulation in the beam path is mechanized, for example, with a movable turntable. And to achieve different beam angles, the X-ray tube and the X-ray and the detector can be moved using CNC axes. But however, the feeding and also the discharge of the components still take place manually. And the first X-ray systems were for simple components like straight and small tubes with circumferential welds or straight longitudinally welded tubes. And as part of a research project, the possibility of automating the feeding, the manipulation in the beam path, and also the discharge of complex tubes and ducts using robots was investigated. This also included the development of functional gripper systems suitable for handling the components to be inspected by a robot. Based on the identification and definition of gripping points in the current component design. On the one hand, the throughput times and also the high personnel efforts and costs should be reduced with an automated digital X-ray inspection. On the other hand, the inspection capacity should be increased, which would additionally reduce the need for outsourcing X-ray inspection tasks. After defining representative components, computer simulations were initially carried out to develop a suitable gripper system and also to determine optimal component handling. And in the first simulations, the robot gripped the component at its end and moved it in the beam path between a fixed X-ray source and the detector. But the simulations revealed that the required inspection positions could not all be reached under those conditions. Therefore, further simulations were carried out in which the movements of the handling robot were complemented by a second robot, which moves the X-ray source and the detector, and also different gripper positions in the component center or at the component end were tested. And yeah, the further simulations showed that all inspection positions can be reached in accordance with standards with the additional access of a second robot and gripping at the component end. However, a reclamping of the components is then required when inspecting both tube ends, since radiographic inspection cannot be performed at the tube end. Yeah, on this basis, a concept for an automatic X-ray inspection was developed in collaboration with VisiConsult. In the developed concept, which you can see here, the component is equipped with the gripper system at its end by an operator and manually placed into a turntable inside radiation protection chamber. And after a defined rotation of the turntable, the component is picked up in the X-ray room from by a handling robot and moved into the inspection area. And a second robot with a C-arm on which the X-ray source and detector are mounted scans the component at the required inspection positions. After the inspection, the handling robot returns the component to the turntable, and the component is then manually removed by the operator, and the gripper is detached from the tube end. And if both tube ends require inspection, the process must be repeated. So yeah, the developed gripper system was then tested at VisiConsult through practical application tests with various complex components, and several aspects were considered and investigated. The component with the worst center of gravity, longest and heaviest component, the clamping force of the gripper system, the repeatability of the robot movement depending on speed, and also vibrations on the component caused by the robot movement. And yeah, the results were quite positive with the gripper system. But during the practical test with the gripper system, we also examined the preparation and manual feeding of the component into the system. And the developed concept included a loading height of 2.6 meters. And yeah, it was determined that the manual loading of the turntable presents serious ergonomic challenges and risks. For example, we have a high physical strain due to overhead work, and also the poor visibility of the adapter bolts on the turntable for the gripper system complicated the positioning. So as a result, the entire loading concept had to be optimized. But based on the developed X-ray concept and successful tests with the Kuiper system, an economic evaluation was conducted, which revealed a high saving potential for PFW, which led then to the end of the research project and its transition to industrial implementation. And during this implementation, the overall concept was further optimized, especially the preparation and loading process. Here you can see, the optimized concept. Here in the optimized concept, the component is no longer manually placed into the turntable. Instead, it is placed at one or on one of three transfer stations. Each is equipped with a universal positioning fixture, which ensures defined positioning of the component for a safe clamping by a loading robot. And the exact positioning of the component for setting up the universal positioning fixture is displayed on a monitor. And after setup and placement of the component's position is also checked using a camera. So if everything is then all right, if everything is okay, the loading robot selects the correct Kuiper out of a Kuiper change station and picks up the component from the transfer station and places it into the turntable. Then in the X-ray room, the scanning of the component takes place as in the concept before. Nothing changed there. And if after the inspection, the component is removed by the loading robot and placed on a conveyor band. After the placement, the loading robot releases the Kuiper and returns it to the change station or picks up another component from the same type. So here we have now a short video of this automated X-ray system in our serial production. I hope it works. Here you can see the universal positioning fixture, which is set up by the operator. The component to be inspected is placed into the fixture. Positioning is checked by the camera. So here's the handling robot and the robot with the C-arm, which moves the X-ray source and the detector. Yeah, and with this digitization and automation of the X-ray process, the basis for an automatic defect recognition was created. And now we will come to the core of this presentation. So currently, the digital X-ray images of weld seams are evaluated and assessed manually by a qualified X-ray inspector. The X-ray inspector uses a specialized evaluation software. It's the X Plus Review software from VisiConsult to evaluate, assess, and mark internal imperfections such as pores or inclusions. With this software, the X-ray inspector can measure the size of a single pore or can measure the distance between two pores, for example. And on this basis, the X-ray inspector makes his usage decision if it's acceptable or unacceptable. And for next year, 2026, almost 1.2 million X-ray images will have to be evaluated and assessed in this way. And for this purpose, we have nearly 25 X-ray inspectors, level 2, with approval for digital X-ray inspection. And it's many people, and the X-ray inspectors are, I think, the most or the highest paid workers in serial production. And this manual evaluation and assessment is a time and cost intensive process. And therefore an ADR shall support the X-ray inspector in evaluating and assessing the X-ray images by means of a specially developed AI. So ADRs available on the market are primarily designed for castings and not for weld seams. Castings have other geometries and defect types and sizes than welded components, which make the available solutions on the market unsuitable for an application at PFW. To meet the PFW's requirements, this technology needs to be adapted to welded components and their requirements, especially with regard to the seam geometry and also the X-ray images with their characteristics, such as contrast and noise at PFW. But semi-automatic and automatic image evaluation is already described in our customer specifications, but only based on standard image processing algorithms and with many limitations, which make an efficient use in our serial production impossible. But the topic of an ADR is not new to our customer, which is why he's probably open to an ADR on the basis of AI. It could be an advantage. So with the implementation of an ADR in our serial production, we expect several benefits: reduction of the personal efforts and costs, because we need less time to evaluate and assess X-ray images. Also, we expect a reduction of our throughput times because we have a faster image evaluation, which improves the efficiency and the delivery performance. We will have an increase in our inspection capacity because a higher volume of digital X-ray images can be evaluated and assessed in the same time frame. And we also will have a relief of the X-ray inspector, because the evaluation and assessment of the X-ray images require a high concentration. So the ADR will also improve. It will also improve the ergonomics and reduces fatigue. In addition to automating the X-ray process in the research project, a first prototype for an ADR was also developed with VisiConsult. The this prototype was based on standard image processing algorithms and showed that an ADR for weld seams is in principle possible. And on this basis, VisiConsult launched a pilot project to develop universal ADR for weld seams. And PFW was asked to participate in this project as an end user. And the aim of this pilot project was the development of a prototype and its proof of concept. And in this pilot project, we provided VisiConsult with digital X-ray images containing internal imperfections such as pores or inclusions for the development and training of an AI prototype. And as in the research project, the initial focus was on mechanized longitudinal welded tubes due to the uniform and reproducible seam geometry, as well as the contrast in the X-ray image. The other weld seams, circumferential weld seams, and also resistance seams and spot welds were added later. And the focus was on the most, or is on the most frequently imperfections. These are pores, inclusions, or particles of high density, burn through, and lack of fusion. To assess the reliability of the AI model, key indicators were defined. And for this truth matrix, or also called a confusion matrix, was or is used. This is a tool for assessing the performance of a classification model, especially in AI and machine learning. This matrix shows how well an AI model performs in predicting classes by comparing the actual values with the values predicted by the AI model. In the rows we have the ground truth or the actual value. Here the X-ray image, either it has a defect or no defect. And in the column we have the predicted value of our AI model, defect or no defect. And with this truth matrix, we can identify weaknesses in the AI model. For example, whether it produces too many false positive or false negative. False positive means we have no defect in the X-ray image, but our AI model predicts something and says, okay, here is something. It's like a pseudo defect. These defects or these indications are not critical for us. So they have no impact on the functionality of our component. Which is more critical are the false negative if the actual defect is overseen by the AI model. And the true positive rate and the false negative rate are very important key indicators. The true positive rate indicates the probability that an actual defect is correctly identified or detected as a defect. This should be nearly 1. And the false negative rate indicates the probability that an actual defect is overseen or not detected. and this value should be 0. So in the beginning, the AI model predicted many false positives, which are not the critical ones. So we had a lot of dead pixels or pixel defects, which were detected by the AI model. But yeah, it's just a pseudo defect. It's just one pixel. And also the other one false positive example is noise in the X-ray images. So yeah, it looks like it would be an imperfection like an inclusion or a particle of high density, but it's not. It's just a noise in our X-ray images, and these yeah indications had to be trained. Yeah, had to be trained out from the AI model. And we also had, yeah, also false negative indications, or not indications. The actual defects in the X-ray image were overseen or overlooked by the AI model. For example, on the left side, a very big pore from 0.5 millimeter size was overseen. And on the right, here we have many particles of high density, which were detected on the one hand. You can see it with the blue circles, but two particles were overseen. And yeah, these are the critical defects which could have an impact and later impact on the functionality of our component. So here we have the AI performance for longitudinal welded tubes at the end of the pilot project. And you can see that throughout the pilot project, the performance and reliability of the AI model could be significantly improved through continuous training and optimization of the AI model. The true positive rate and false negative rate could be improved, especially for the imperfections, lack of fusion and burn through. We achieved very good results. The amount of false positive was quite high, but these defects, as I said, they are not critical. They are just an additional effort later in evaluating, assessing X-ray images. So the AI performance here showed that with this, the proof of concept was successfully demonstrated, and the technical maturity for our rollout of phase 1 was achieved. So what is phase 1? So with this phase 1, the pilot project ended, and the further development of the AI model was divided into 3 phases: phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Phase 1 is an assistant defect recognition. Here, in this phase, we generate data for the phase 2, or to get to the phase 2. Here, our X-ray inspector evaluates and assesses the X-ray images as before. And after that, the AI highlights him the detected indications or the internal imperfections, and the X-ray inspector compares his result with the AI result, and assesses the AI result then. And in the case of a poor AI result, these X-ray images are would say recorrected by the X-ray inspector and used for further training of the AI model. Phase 2 would be the semi-automatic defect recognition. Here, the AI model shall sort out all X-ray images in which no indication is detected by the AI. So the assessment would be okay. And only the X-ray images where the AI detects something shall be evaluated and assessed by the X-ray inspector to make his usage decision if it's acceptable or unacceptable. And yeah, the last phase would be an automatic defect recognition, a fully automatic defect recognition, in which the AI makes all or evaluates and assesses all X-ray images and makes a usage decision if it's acceptable or unacceptable. And we are currently in phase 1. We started last year in September with this phase 1. And I will now explain on with this picture how the process flow is. So the X-ray inspector opens his X-ray images, his X-ray image, and then he sees the weld seam, but without this circle here in the weld seam, and evaluates and assesses this weld seam. And here you can see nothing. Here we have no pores or inclusions, also no lack of fusion. So the weld seam is okay. We have no imperfections, and the X-ray inspector assesses it as okay. In the background, or during this manual evaluation, the AI system analyzes the X-ray images, the X-ray image, and analyze it. Sorry for that. And this happens in the background, and you can see on the right side on the bottom the interface of the AI, in which we have 2 buttons to evaluate the AI result. AI result is okay. AI result is not okay. And also a green light, which means the AI is ready and the AI result is available. And also a yellow light, which means the AI has detected something in the weld seam. So after the X-ray inspector evaluated and assessed the X-ray image, the AI result is shown to him, and now we see now this circle, but in reality we have no indication here. So the X-ray inspector would say, okay, the AI result is not okay, would push the button or click the button, and this image would be then later recorrected with another software tool. It's the VC Review from VisiConsult. With this tool, the images can be corrected by the X-ray inspector. For example, here you can see a weld seam with a pore, and only a small part of the pore was detected or highlighted by the AI. And now the X-ray inspector would say, okay, he would mark also the other pixels and say, okay, this whole thing would be the pore. And this and with this data, the AI is further trained and optimized. And now here's a short video we recorded to present the current status in our PFW employee app. it's yeah. Here you can see how the evaluation is currently done. The X-ray inspector measures his pore. And as I said, in the background, the AI analyzes then the X-ray images. So currently, detected defects are highlighted by the AI with flashing circles. And as I said, the X-ray inspector compares his result with the AI result. And with these generated data, the AI is further trained and optimized. And now you can see here, the latest AI performance. It is not only for the longitudinal welded tubes, but it's for all types of welds, the longitudinal, circumferential, seam, and spot welds. And for lack of fusion and burn through, the true positive rate and false negative rate are very good. So all actual defects can be detected. The false negative rate is very low. And if we have looked onto the pores and the high density, it seems that we have a lot of defects that are not detected. Here you can see the false negative, the amount of false negative for pores over 200, for high density over 50. But if we have a closer look on it, then you can see on the right side of the gas cavities, on the bottom, the solid inclusions, that only defects with the size of 2 pixels were overseen or not detected. And according to our criteria for the acceptance of pores, it says that pores and inclusions smaller than 0.1 millimeter must not be considered in the evaluation and assessment. Then you see that these overseen or overlooked defects with the size of 2 pixels are not relevant, because 2 pixels is smaller than 0.1 millimeter. So in total, the AM model performance is good. Okay, thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Patrick. That was great. One virtual round of applause. Daniel, maybe you can switch over. We're slightly behind time, Patrick. A lot of interesting things to say. No, not a problem. So for all the participants, we might slightly overrun this webinar, despite us being all Germans. But if you happen to drop off towards the end because you have another obligation coming after this, we'll record this. So if you have to, you can catch up on the last minutes. But I would love if all of you could stay on, us overrunning slightly, and Daniel will try to catch up. So Daniel, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Yes, Daniel Grolmisch, mein Name. I am over 5 years now at VisiConsult, and yeah, actually, we're looking into this cutting-edge technology even before the big increase of awareness of AI tools due to like ChatGPT and others. And yeah, we really tried to look into what could improve actually X-ray inspection um, just with technology. What actually drives me personally is yeah, that what lies in exploring the advancing technologies that can be applied to create measurable value in like real world problems. And this very much mirrors actually also what you have as drivers in NDT, what Patrick was digging into a lot already as well. So we have this labor shortage, we have this increase of inspection volumes, we have this higher cost pressure, and all of this together brings up demands towards the solution providers inside of the markets. That is to make the inspection more attractive, make the inspection manageable, and make it more efficient. So to meet this growing need, VisiConsult took action and created the Compass platform, our navigation system for this new inspection landscape. And we believe that cutting edge technology powered by human AI synergy can actually turn data into reliable decisions. AI sees pattern where humans can understand that meaning, and this partnership in mind let us build tools that actually adapt to every possible workflow and level of automatization. So now the question is how to use that AI in NDT inspection. Patrick gave us already a very good insight in how to use it as an assistance tool to increase performance, but there are also other possibilities what I want to introduce you today a little bit more in detail. So further, we could apply towards assisted AI tool other tools to enable, for example, sorting of parts or provide a pre-evaluation, or even have an agentic AI which helps us finding the final decision or having it actually fully automated. So let's start slow and look into the inline assist AI, which is what actually PFW has right now in place. We have a built-in segmentation tool. We built in custom defect classes and fast on-device model inference, which helps all the different X-ray application machines to streamline into decisions of real-world assets, to really have the human in control of the AI predictions and to make actual prediction, the decision faster. So now when we look into the inspection, this is now our Visi Review, our inspection software. When we look into the inspection of an PFW weld seam, one focuses automatically on what indication is the biggest and is most pregnant and try to measure that one. And we want to have our decision based on this. But what we do miss often due to maybe, in this case, dirt next to a weld seam, we could miss actual indications just due to the human nature that is focused on maybe misleading patterns. So what we want to have here is kind of a safety net to find even critical indications where human could oversee this. So that would be an inline AI fail-safe loop, if you want to say so, an AI applied after actual human inspection. That would lead to no bias to the user. We can have the AI as a double check for ICE principal inspection, if you want to say so. And there are many other applications we could bring into your workflow. So another one would be that we have a just manual inspection and only use the AI to measure the indications that we as a human actually detect, and yeah, get rid of the sometimes a little bit clunky tools for that measurement, and also the inhomogeneous measurement that different operators apply to the different defects. And still, the decision is completely on the human side. So since we do not only offer inspection software, but a whole platform, a landscape of different softwares that can feed into each other, we can provide an end-to-end solution and have, for example, instead of an inline review, also kind of a pre-segmentation of all the images and having a review later on all the stored images. So we can provide with one inference servers different applications, different objects as well, like we have done in PFW, one model applied to longitudinal welds, circumferential welds, and the point welds. So now when we look into the decision making, which we want to digitalize as well, we have to go even further the rabbit hole and find ways to use our cutting edge technology to provide these different tools that you're looking forward. And the very, very first thing that comes in mind would be to pre-sort just all the parts or images that actually are clean, especially in weld inspection. Like 95% of all the images are with no indications at all, with no defects, and human could reduce the effort to focus on which is actually important to look into, have a more streamlined inspection and increase efficiency a lot in here. So now when we look into more complex parts like castings, there we have often a very historical background on the defect recognition. Like we have different views. We have to create a program to have repetitive inspection angles, having image registration and enhancements, and have to create a lot of different algorithms and zones to have an ADR working on those castings. This needs a lot of time, but AI now is applied to the full image regardless of the position, since we find defects regardless of geometry, but regarding the type of production we are looking into. So even if we have unregistered or slightly shifted views, we are very, very robust with an AI in comparison to the conventional methods of ADR. So even when we now change our product line and add a new part or change a new part, I would not have any problem with that. We have out of the box directly good results and can go into the inspection more fast and are more flexible with the whole process in there. Okay, of course, we cannot skip the zones completely, since we need to create some zones, at least roughly, to apply criteria to different parts, to different regions. For weld seams, this is not a lot done, but especially for castings, we have different safety zones. And for that, we can easily create just this criteria by a text, by adding this configuration to this zone and having it applied to this different zone, and going into then the next steps of automatization, which is a semi-automatic decision, where we now have actually in the background only the observer as the inspector, and having an AI system that already suggests decisions based on several fitting modules. So one module would be one AI that brings up indications found in the castings. Another part of the software would be providing the criteria zones for this special view that we are looking into. And the next part of the software then would actually look into how the different indications are clustered, how big they are, automatically measured. You can see here in the bottom side, we have an indication view with all the different indications inside one image, inside one view. And based on the zones, we have a suggested decision which can be overruled or agreed on. So in life, that would look like this. We just apply now a simulation of acquisition of data, which goes into an incoming channel from one machine to different to one inference computer, and the user can now just accept or disagree with the results of the AI. And also you can directly see a results board where you have statistics over the actual inspection running through your lifetime production and can mirror with what actually defects can occur and where they do occur, and gather a lot of valuable information that you were not able to gather before in there. Of course, we can have that as well in a compliance mode. So we have the inspector doing the decision completely on his own, and the AI runs in the background, and both do the decision. And then we compare the decision finally, is this part rejectable or accepted? And only if it differs, then again, for example, another level 2 or level 3 has to review this part for final decision. But the downside of that, of course, would be that we reduce the efficiency that we actually want to gain. So finally, we can look into the rejected parts, having all the zones visible and also the indications inside those views. And we have an indication view where we can click on those indications, find the automatic measurement, find the decision, and can trace back how the decision by the AI was done, what rules were actually yeah, uh, in charge of having that part rejected, and what rules were actually accepted. And due to this transparency, we really can easily derive valuable information for the production lines and qualify the process in the same time with the standards that we have already given and those who are actually right now in process. So then the last step that one could think of would be a agentic automatic X-ray inspection, where we have the human in the loop as a control instance and not as an operator who is doing the decision where it is applicable. Of course, this is the last step of automatization and needs a lot of different qualification before. But then we could easily run a lot of data in a lights out facility. And here we simulate the actual speed of such a solution, where we have on a speed of copying to the hard drive as well the decision made by a full system based on zones, based on configurations, and based on rule-based decisions. So let's come back to the question in the very beginning, how to use AI in the NDT inspection. So the question isn't if, but how AI will transform inspection and how you will take part in that transformation. So let's start small. Maybe just choose one process, one data set, one challenge that you encounter often. Send us some data for a free AI checkup, and let's see. We can guide you from a proof of concept to production. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Daniel. That was fast. So we are nearly back on track. We're slightly delayed, but there's a lot of great questions. So if you still have a couple of minutes, that would be great if you stay on. I'll try to steer the questions to the right person, Patrick, Daniel here. And I start with Stefan, who is in the additive manufacturing industry. And he's asking how we can ensure repeatability when using AI. For example, do we have witness samples or RQIs or something to perform surface determination, wall thickness, and porosity analysis for each build? How can we ensure the surface determination or porosity analysis provides an apple-to-apple comparison between builds? Maybe Stefan, before I send that on, that seems to me more related as to a CT question, computer tomography. It seems to be more a three-dimensional evaluation, talking about wall thicknesses and that kind of stuff. So please, if I misunderstood that and you're referring to 2D, maybe you can more detail your question, and then I will forward it to one of the experts. Then there's Peter Lewis, who asked, would you say that ADR usage is more for part manufacturers than independent test houses, given the amount of images required to train the software? And maybe, Daniel, that is more something to you. VisiConsult also runs an inspection services business in Germany. So can you maybe tell a little bit, would this also be a technology that would be applicable for inspection services companies?
Yes, let me directly dig in there. What we are doing is that we are not looking into what is the difference in part geometry, but what looks defect-like. So our AI is applicable to various geometries and parts at the same time, or yeah, we can just fine-tune on your machine and have it applicable to also independent tests and not only this manufacturer's line profiles.
Okay. And also, I think, Daniel, an important point there is our universal, like our foundation models that we train that are quite universally applicable to parts out of the box, right? But I think it is a fair point to say that obviously it works better if you always inspect the same component over and over. You can fine-tune the model better than if you have different components all the time. But this is also something that a feasibility study or a checkup done by our AI expert team is probably best suited to find out. So Peter, if you want, to learn and find out, then send us a message and we can see what is possible. Next question is from Rafshan Yomatov. I'm sorry if I mispronounce. Hi all, I'm also in the NDT material sciences field. What is possible minimum and max resolution on this X-ray inspection process? I think, Daniel, this is again a Daniel question. So sorry, Patrick, your questions will come, but that sounds to be more a Daniel question.
Okay, resolution meant by image size. There actually is no maximum, since we have an approach which is applicable to various different acquisition machines. So we have looked into how to do that. We're very flexible with that. We have more like a minimum size, which is 256 pixels in each direction, I think, but even that would be applicable if we add some padding in there, technically spoken. When we look into resolution meant by actual real-world size, that is not applicable to our AI, since we are looking on pixels and what the segmentation does afterwards, that we calculate back the size of the pixel, of one pixel of the actual image into real world measurement. So when your detector can have the resolution to make an indication visible, then we can detect it as well with our AI.
Thank you. So the detectability performance of your X-ray system are the baseline, and then you add 2-3 pixels based on your pixel pitch, and that describes your detectability. The next question is from Michael Goon. My question is, what type of image recognition model is this? For example, is this a CNN, so a convolutional neural network? And I guess, Daniel, we can't reveal how the sausage is made, but maybe there's something general you can say on what kind of technologies we are deploying.
Yes, what I can say is that we have not just transformer or CNN or whatever. We have looked into that topic very much in depth and had a lot of research done on this part. and we developed something on our own, which is applicable to this field of X-ray inspection, and which works pretty well, obviously. But what architecture type we want to use and what are we using, we definitely cannot reveal there.
Thank you. Let me pull up the next question. I think, Patrick, this time is a question for you. Why are the defects with less than 0.1 millimeter not be considered as a defect?
Because it is stated in our customer specifications. Our customer says, okay, gas cavities or solid inclusions with individual size less than 0.1 millimeter shall not be considered, because they say such small gas cavities or pores have no impact on the functionality or the durability of our component. So this is why such small pores or inclusions are not considered, and are also not, I think, for us, not relevant for ADR, because these are not no relevant imperfections, I would say, or defects.
Yeah, go ahead, Daniel.
Let me maybe add something to that. What we are trying to do is not a defect detection, but an indication detection. So what we want to do is highlight all the indications to an inspector, regardless rejection criteria, which could still be applied afterwards to threshold the indications that are found by the AI. So we could get rid of the visual the visibility of all the porosities lower than 0.1 millimeter, and have the operator focusing on what is important in there. Still, in the process of training, we are looking below that criteria to have that that uncertainty range that is applied to all trainings of AI below that critical threshold. And this is what exactly was mirrored in also the results of PFW. The only uncertainty in the labeling and in detection were found with the 2 pixel size, and this is the size which is not considered a relevant defect.
Very good addition. Next question is from Wamsi Krishna Rentala. Thank you for the presentation. No, it's a good question. I believe conventional ML metrics like accuracy, recall, etc., do not fully capture the reliability concerns for AI, ADR, and NDT, as they do not consider PFA, misindication. ML segmentation is done at pixel level, but NDT defect detection spans multiple pixels. How do you think POD studies can help here? I think this is a good question to both of you. Daniel, more from a, let's say, development and research point of view, and Patrick, maybe you from a more practical view. So to take this either way on how you want to respond.
Yeah, let's maybe go first. There are different methods you could use for evaluating AI results. You could do it image-wise, you could do it indication-wise, or pixel-wise. With all 3 types of evaluation, you could create your confusion metrics and therefore missed indications and PFA, PUDs, or whatever metrics you want to apply. We have decided to go for a segmentation basis, which is applied to pixels. So each pixel that is clustered to a group is then considered an indication. Still, we have the information of every single pixel. This gives us the opportunity to really derive the overlap of the actual indications that were found by the AI with the ground truth created by an operator to ensure correct measurement, and have also the PUD for having all the different types of indications found in here. What I kind of think misleading is here that you write that AI, ADR, and NDT would not consider missed indications. This is a crucial part of the POD, since the POD is measured missed indications against found indications. So I'm not quite sure what you want to have as an information from me.
Maybe Wamsi, maybe adding to Daniel. So we are not only measuring TPR and FPR. We are also, I mean, this is already indication level performances. We, as Daniel said, we have pixel level performances like intersection over union and other metrics, and then we have the indication level measurements. What becomes hardest is the image level measurements, because the image level measurements, you need to have some kind of acceptance rejecting criteria, which is why we focus a lot on the image by image indication based view. But maybe Patrick, have you already within PFW discussed a little bit about how to measure performance beyond, let's say, the classic metrics? And have you considered POD? Or is that maybe done in a different department in your company?
Until now, we haven't we thought about PODs, or we had also talk with also Airbus, and for our qualification for phase 2, we also have to create PODs. But we haven't discussed yet or don't know yet on which level. Is it indication-wise? Is it on pixel level? But we have to create PODs for every type of defect, pores, inclusions, lack of fusions, and we don't have now any requirements how for the true positive rate or the false negative rate. So we there have no requirements until now, but we will have to discuss this with our customers, from which we get the approval for such an ADR system. But currently, it's we have no detailed requirements regarding this.
Exactly, Patrick, which is why we all started with the assisted defect phase, which doesn't which makes sure the human is still in the loop and makes the decision. The second the human is not in the loop because the AI maybe sorts images or does automated decisions, that question will become incredibly important. And what I see from your use case and also other customers' use cases is that these standards of ADR, AI, and NDT are just building out. The first guide that we have in ASTM is an assisted defect recognition guide. So that's what we can lean on. As soon as we go higher in aerospace, we are going into uncharted territory. And I think a lot of companies like yours and with your customer and ours are figuring out how exactly the qualification and requirements will be. Last question. So if anybody wants to drop a question, you still have a couple of minutes before we cut off here. Is Jan Gogol. What percentage of human-checked missed failures are found via the AI failsafe? And Patrick, I will not put you on the spot to answer that question for PFW, and I will ask Daniel to do that neither. But maybe, Daniel, you can talk about other cases, and I explicitly want to make sure that answer, whatever Daniel will give, is not the answer, what the case was at PFW, but maybe, Daniel, give us an idea. How much does the AI find after the human thought they've done their job?
In general, when I look over the different projects that we have, I would say we have at least a miss of 10%, which is incredibly high when we think about it. But what happens, even if we go into data creation, where we have to really have time to look into the image and find and focus on all the different indications to mark them for ground truth, we found out that after training and running the AI on even the training data, looking for differences in the prediction and the ground truth creation, we still can find misses. even though we really focus on that, and the customer does focus, and the experts do focus. That is why we have data creation loops, where always several peoples are in the loop doing creation, controlling against each other, and having different iterative approaches to really measure the quality of data curation. And that mirrors also the reality in production, where often with purely manual review of X-ray inspection, only is one person in a loop. And that is why we want to have at least the AI as a second, second instance of control to really level the quality of inspection.
And when you hear these numbers, keep in mind that this is not missed defects, it's missed indications, right? And that's a big, big difference, because we all know from POD, the smaller the indication gets, the higher the miss rate, and that's a classical behavior. So it's not that on typical use cases, 10% of the defects are missed. But we see missed defects, and we see a lot of missed indications. And this is where AI really is not only a chance to improve efficiency, but also improve quality ultimately. But that brings me to an end. I think we've answered all questions. Thanks for you posting that. So logistical wise, you will receive an email with the recording of this webinar. You are very free to distribute that within your organization. You will also receive a contact for you to ask questions on anything that you heard or have seen. I've seen a participant asking for a certificate of participation. If you would like to have that, then please also send us an email, and we'll be glad to create a certificate for you guys. And ultimately, my call to action would be, if you want to learn more about this, send us a message, and we are happy to carry out a checkup for you. This is a free effort, so a checkup doesn't cost you anything. We'll do a quick checkup with our foundation models to see how good the AI performs, and we'll share that report with you. With that said, I thank everybody for that time, and sorry for being slightly, just 20 minutes, over time. Have a great day, everybody.
Bye.